So I'm just here to tell you to please use Git for version control. Yeah. So why would we use Git? So you can imagine a lot of people maintain code by creating different directories every time they do something, maybe timestamping the directories if they're smart. But it makes that really easy to overwrite files, to like forget where you put stuff. So programmers have come up with this nice tool that can help you manage your code and also share and collaborate with other people. So this is sort of a situation when you would want to use Git, is like you're working on code with a bunch of other people and you're all modifying it sort of at the same time. So what Git allows you to do is start off from a repository of code, and you get to modify it, other people get to modify it, and then you can all converge and have all the features together at the end, instead of overwriting each other and like having all these different versions to deal with. So I'll tell you about all these commands in my tutorial in a second, but the way that you create your own branch is to git branch away from the main repository, make your changes, and then merge back into the code base. So the main sections of a Git repository consist of these three sort of areas. And so when you're working on your code, you're in the working directory, and you're making changes, and then you can move your files to this area called the staging area, which is when you know you're ready to commit it. So you're putting all of this onto the stage and saying, okay, I'm putting all of this together, and then finally you can commit it, which sort of just like creates this object, I'll call it, of like a time-stamped version of your code. And so you can commit multiple times, and if you're changing your code a lot, you can jump back to a previous commit. Maybe you added something and it messed up your code, so you can jump back. So it just makes it really easy to keep track of and make sure you're not messing up stuff. So I'm just gonna go through like a quick live tutorial of how to do some of the basic Git things. But all of the information about the tutorial that I'll be doing should be in these. I like this Git cheat sheet that I have printed out and stuck onto the wall near my desk, so I recommend that. But it's a lot like speaking English, so you should be able to remember most of the commands. So I'm gonna try to do this live, which is probably not gonna work, but it's worth a try. So this is the second link that I've provided. It's sort of this like visual representation of what the different stages of Git look like. And so each circle is sort of a commit here. That's why they're named C. And so I'll use this diagram to explain what I'm doing in the code on the left. So when you're starting out creating a new repository, I'm just gonna create a directory called Git tutorial. You wanna initialize it as a Git repository. And to do that, you're gonna say git init. Is the text big enough for everyone to see? Okay. So now it's telling you you've initialized an empty Git repository. But what does that mean? It means you're basically keeping track of this repository with Git now. So what you can do, which I type this command a lot, is git status, and it'll show you what's going on with the three areas that I was talking about. Yes? Say that again?
Could you shift it a little? It's like clipping on.
Oh, yes. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm gonna add a file. Say you're writing code here. Okay, now we have this file called test.txt. It's in your working area, so it's not yet been staged. So when you type git status, it says untracked. You're not telling Git that you want it to track this file yet. So when you put it into the staging area, which you can do by adding you'll see that it goes from being green to, or red to green, and that kind of means that it started tracking this file. And now you can commit this change. So you're basically saying, this is a permanent time in my code base that I want to create an object of. And I like to add a message using the -m flag, but if you just type git commit, it'll take you to a new page where you can add the commit message. So there you see, we have this committed version. So let's just say that that's where we are now. And we only have one branch so far. And you can see how many branches there are by just typing git branch. So when you're working on someone else's code, you're going to want to branch off of it and make your changes before committing and then pushing back or merging back. And so to create a new branch, you just type git branch and then the name of the branch. We'll say we're developing this. So now you can see that there are 2 branches. I'm still on the main branch. So you can switch over to a different branch by using checkout. And now we're on the developers branch. So say I'm developing this code. So your changes have not yet been staged. So you've added this file, committed it, and now once you do a commit, you have to restage everything. And so you've modified it, but you haven't yet asked Git to track the modifications here. Sorry, git add. And I usually just do add star, which adds all the files that I've changed, but you can do them individually as well. And again, you can see it's been added to the staging area. So now we can commit. So what does the landscape of this look like? I'm going to try to visualize it over here now. So we started off with just the main branch, and then we created a new branch called dev. And then I committed the branch dev. So that's become a new commit. Now if I jump back to the main branch, let's do that here too. If you look at the file, it's still unchanged, so you've kind of jumped onto the other branch here. Now if I modify this again, we're kind of diverging trajectories. And I'm going to go ahead and add this. And then commit it. So that's going to look something like this, where it's going to split into 2 branches. So now I'm still on the main branch, but there's this other branch that has like sort of a conflicting set of files. And so how would you merge these 2? To do that, I usually like to stay on the main branch and then just pull the other branches in, merge the other branches in. So I think I'm already on the main branch here. I'm just going to say git merge dev. It's going to say there's a conflict. You can't automatically put these 2 files together because there's differences that can't be automatically fixed. So now it's going to ask you to fix the conflicts. And it's showing you like the different branches and what the changes are. So now is when I'll go through and fix all the changes so you have both sets of changes. And then you should be able to yeah, you're right.
You have to commit it after you
Is that on the cheat sheet?
Yes, all of this is on the cheat sheet. Okay, so now we've merged these, and so they've sort of become the same branch again. And you can commit this again. So this is like the bare bones basics of Git. There's a lot going on in Git, and I will suggest this tutorial and the first link that I put on there for you guys to work through. I think that's kind of it from me.